Hey everybody, welcome back live at Drew's House Joppa Afternoon Drive. Hope you're all doing well as we move our way through January here. And with that, for the first time in 2024, we bring in the Mayor of Newburyport, Sean Reardon. How are you, Mayor? What's going on?
Happy New Year, Drew.
Happy New Year.
It's great to be here.
You're all smiles here today. I'm happy to hear that. I know you are a very busy man. Can I get the one thing off the table? It's been very serious business on your part. I know it's a lot at stake. What's going on with the Whittier School project? What's the latest here? Where do we stand?
Yeah, so there's a big vote coming up in all 11 communities that feed into Whittier on January 23rd. That vote's going to take place in all 11 communities at the same time from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., so 8 hours of voting time. So again, please mark your calendars. If you don't know anything about this project, please go to the cityofnewburyport.com website. We have a whole page devoted to it. And, you know, bottom line is Whittier needs a lot of work, right? It's a 50-year-old building. You know, they went through this process. They went through this MSBA process, which is the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The end result of that, they got in that process. They did a feasibility study in 2016. They got into the MSBA program in 2019. And then in 2022, they formed a building committee. And then after they did their process, at the end of 2022, they told cities and towns that, hey, we've got we've decided on it to move forward with a new school, like in the process, and we don't have final numbers yet. We have some rough numbers right now, but you know we're going to be coming to you later. It's going to be a town-by-town vote, and it's going to be coming later this year. Okay, so fast forward in October, I think it was October 4th of last year. Last year, 2023, we get the numbers, and it was a $444 million project. So almost a $500 million project. It would be the third most expensive school currently that had been built in the U.S., most expensive school ever in Massachusetts, but there are some projects coming up that will probably top it. But that's a huge number. And so, you know, because of the way Whittier was formed, they have a specific formula that is in place from this Act of 1967. So in 1967, these 11 communities came together. They joined into this agreement to form the Whittier Regional Vocational Technical School District, and then their school opened in 1972. It was built with state funds. It wasn't built with local funds. So that school was built, and they've had the same building for 50 years.
Wow.
And it's something we know a lot about here because our middle school here in Newburyport is actually 2 years older than Whittier, and we've put a lot of money into it. You know, 2014 we did a pretty good renovation at the middle school, and then our high school was built in 1934. So we actually had a huge project in the late 90s, early 2000s to completely renovate and gut our high school and then rebuild it. So we know a lot about this project. Unfortunately, Whittier's school has got to the point they just, for whatever reason, they have a lot of big issues with their school. So they've decided to move forward with the new building process. Unfortunately, none of the 11 cities and towns were really involved in the process. Now, they have Whittier school committee members and employees that were on the building committee. One of them was from Newburyport, but again, we weren't sitting at the table, right? So it's a huge ask to have people wrap their heads around. So this was in October that we got these numbers. And then they decided on the date for the vote, which would be January. But that wasn't finalized until December 13th. So on December 13th, there was two votes. The MSBA, the Massachusetts School Building Authority, voted 5-0 to move the project into the final stage, right? So when that happens, then it goes back to the Whittier School Committee to vote on. They have 120 days. That means the clock starts. So you have to have some sort of vote in all those communities around the project because MSBA is giving some money. I mean, it's a sizable amount of money. So I think it's a $444 million project. Right now, that's an estimate. Right now, and then the MSBA allotment, the final total, I believe, is $269 million that would fall to cities and towns. And you can get into the weeds about like what that looks like because out of the $444 million, only a certain percentage of that project is actually something that the MSBA can reimburse. There's a whole other parts of the project, like 3 baseball fields and like extra things that aren't reimbursable, but they still wanted to include in the project. And so that's essentially where we're at. And so now we're at a point where you've got a yes or no vote that's happening on January 23rd. So a yes vote has no funding mechanism for the 11 cities and towns attached to it, right? Okay. So you vote yes, you're locked into that plan, and now cities and towns have to figure out how to pay for it. So most cities and towns would have to probably do a debt exclusion, all right, which allows you to go over your levy limit, and you'd have to pay off. This is what a lot of capital projects fall under. So like when we did our senior center here that we're in right now, we did it at the same time as our new Bresnahan school. That's the most recent debt exclusion that we've had to do, and we're going to be paying that off for the next, again, we're halfway through there right now.
Yikes.
So Whittier, because of that funding formula, we have 29 kids that go to Whittier, and our bill for this project would be $30 million. So over $1 million a kid. Now, add interest to that over a 30-year loan, you're talking $60 million for 29 kids currently that attend Whittier. And all the other cities, and this isn't just a Newburyport problem, all cities and towns have similar concerns because the project is so high, right? And Whittier is a unique school because their makeup, there's 68% of their students, 860 of them, are from one town, city, Haverhill.
Yeah.
All right, and then the rest of us, the next closest school is Amesbury with 117. That's 9%. And then everybody else is either 2 or 1% or 6%. I mean, the rest of the communities are under 60. And like I said, we're under 30. So again, it's just a lot. It was really dropped really quickly on everybody. So again, you had that vote by the MSBA, who also made it a point. Sean Spicer, who was the Department of Revenue, who serves on the board of the MSBA, made it a point to say this is the third vocational school project in a row where the participating communities have really complained about not being a part of the process. And why that's important is that, we all feed into Whittier. We all believe in Whittier, okay? Like, I have to say that I am the most unhandy person you'll meet in your whole life. I will always need a carpenter, a plumber, all right? So, I totally appreciate that. And it's funny, my son is in 6th grade, and he really gravitates towards the trades. So different from me. I was much more, give me a basketball or a tennis racket, and then that's my day. There's a huge value there. But the way that they're set up, the way the formula is set up, it's unique to that school because you look at some of these other vocational projects, it's based on the enrollment in that school, which would be much more reasonable, right? You're only sending 29 kids.
Yeah.
This was based on the total number of school kids in your school district. So Newburyport's actually the second largest school district, even though we have one of the smallest number of kids actually attending the school.
Yeah.
So that's like that. So the Globe had an article today. It finally came out, but it was a really good article today about it, and the Daily News has been covering this a lot too. That's where we're at. So that kind of all culminated. Oh, I should finish my thought though. So the debt exclusion would need to be passed, and that allows you to go to the levy limit. So that would mean that we would have to have another vote. And I'm sorry, this is a lot.
No, I'm getting a taste of being mayor right now is what I'm getting.
You would have to have another vote. So again, people just came out and voted.
Yeah.
And so we might all vote against it, but it's a majority vote. So if enough yeses come out and pass it, we're stuck with the price tag, right? And now we're on the hook. We're going to get a bill. Now we've got to figure out how to pay for it, which again is so backwards, right? You should know how you're going to pay for something first and then approve it and then do a project. But again, this is the problem with the vocational school process that they go through. So now all these 11 cities and towns will most likely have to go out to some sort of debt exclusion to find a pay for it.
Which you've already had to look into. I can already tell you.
Sure. So this is the nightmare scenario. So then let's say it passes, and then that means the citizens have agreed to add almost $300 to their taxes every year for the next 34 years.
Yep.
Which is difficult because we already have debt service that we're paying off, right? And then you add this massive debt service on top of it. It's like having a credit card to do all the things that you need to do in your city, but now you've maxed it out. So, even though it might not seem a lot, it's only, $300 extra on your taxes this year. To put that in perspective, this year, the average homeowner in Newburyport, taxes almost went up $500, right? So if that's already happening, $500 increase for somebody, and then you put another $300 on top of it, and then who knows what's going to happen each year after that. It adds up. Right? It becomes real money real quick.
No doubt.
Right? So that's that concession. But the nightmare scenario is the debt exclusion fails. So now we're still getting the bill for $30 million. How do we do that? We have to cut from our operational budget. So now you're talking about looking at all your departments across the city: Council of Aging, schools, police, fire, library, youth services. Where do those cuts come from?
That's scary.
And again, we're in 79% people organization. So that's why cities and towns are freaking out. And so this all culminated last night. Oh, I should say, so that's a yes vote.
Yeah.
If a no vote happens, the project stopped. Now, I think that's a good thing because this has been an incredibly rushed process for cities and towns who weren't sitting at the table designing this $444 million school. So to me, a no vote is a good thing because it allows us to stop and hopefully regroup. And each of the 11 communities can either come to the table, hopefully, with Whittier and find that next process, whether that's coming up with a new school plan for a new school or figuring out what that renovation looks like. It's funny, the people who are pushing this campaign are actually the contractor that's in charge of the project. They're running the Yes campaign. So it's the union, the labor union that's actually running the Yes campaign.
Complicated.
Who is the only one who's going to financially benefit from this project or running the Yes campaign. But what they're saying is if you guys vote this down, it's going to cost even more to do a renovation. And they're saying a renovation would happen right away because they have a wastewater treatment. So this school was built on an area that does not feed into Haverhill water and sewer. Which is a huge mistake. I don't know why they did that back in 1967, but it's huge. So I hope that's something that can be rectified as well. But that's the biggest thing I think they would say that needs to get done right away is this water treatment plant, which is obviously extremely expensive. There's another project that they think is, and I would agree, is necessary. They've never had a sprinkler system in a vocational school. It's not like they had one and it doesn't work. Yeah. It was built without a sprinkler system. They haven't had it for 50 years. So, what I asked today, I was actually with the principal of Whittier today. They came to our senior center, and I sat with them, and I was like, hey, look, I don't think this question's been asked yet, but you're telling me if people won't know, then you're going to have to start this code upgrade, this code compliance upgrade throughout the whole building that's going to cost more. But if it passes, your school's not going to be built for 4 years. So you're still going to be in that same school for 4 years. So why does the renovations have to start right away? Yeah. If it's a yes, then you're going to be in that building anyways for 4 years. And I think the fear is that those systems could fail, right? And we'd have to deal with that if that happened. So to me, it's simple. It's like a yes vote. You're locked in. You believe that's a good price, and that cities and towns should find a way to pay for it. A no vote means, to me, this is just to me. Again, I encourage people to read up. There's plenty of websites. Again, we did a great session last night. We did an information session.
A lot of passionate people. Yeah. So we did it at the middle school, right? Which again is was built in 1970. So we were in a school 2 years older than Whittier last night. But we had a couple hundred people show up. A lot of opinions were expressed. But to me, so Whittier tried to go through this process where they were reaching out to communities. Again, late in the game, the project was cooked, but now they were trying to bring the information to all the communities. They did a couple community forums in Georgetown and Merrimack, and they were very contentious. Yeah, it didn't go well.
Didn't go well, so they canceled all of them. So Newburyport never got one. So I said, I'm going to set up my own, and I'm going to invite all 11 cities and towns here. So I first reached out to Whittier. Maureen Lynch is the superintendent there. I said, hey, I'd like to do a community forum. It's just going to be just informational. I want people to have information before the vote. Will you come and present your plan for the school? And she immediately declined and had this long letter about she thinks she's done a great job getting information out to people, and they're not going to do that. Ooh. Right. So we decided to move forward with it. I was like, all right, hey, we're going to make it informational. I'm going to invite. So I had every city and town. So there's 11, 3 cities, Haverhill, Newburyport, and Amesbury, and then the 8 towns. I had them all bring select board members, elected officials from each town, agreed to come, which was great. I hadn't met a lot of them before, so that was a great opportunity last night to meet all these people.
We were there.
Oh, were you there?
No.
Oh, no. NCM Hub there was great, too. Salisbury's TV
I was calling a basketball game, which somebody couldn't do.
You were doing my job at the basketball game, which I appreciate. But it was actually great. And again, you're right. The emotions were high. I took a lot of hits. I understand that. I mean, I've been very vocal against the plan. But I wasn't last night was about sharing just the facts of the plan. I want people to make their own decisions.
What are you getting hit with? What are people saying? You're not putting enough emphasis on trade schools? Is that, I take it?
Well, I mean, I think last night we heard from a lot of Whittier staff. I mean, a lot of Whittier staff showed up and just, we're just telling them their experience in their school, and I totally get that. We've gone through school projects here. I would say the difference is when we do it here, there's so much more of a public process. I mean, you're forming a committee, you're having public meetings, you're getting down to a point where you're not going to the people for funding until you've put that hopefully value engineered plan together that you feel like is affordable for your city and that you can sell to voters. We're selling a plan right now that there's no funding mechanism for. I mean, so it's again, to me, it's backwards. We're going to try to say yes to a plan and then figure out how to pay for it. That's just not how things work.
One silly question for somebody who's not as tapped into this, admittedly, I should be more. But with all this going, you get 29 kids, you said, from your report that actually benefit from this. I imagine there's some roadblocks here, that are maybe even way before your time, where you can't just say to these 29 kids, we're just going to pull away from this and take care of our 29, and we'll give you the best damn school here in Newburyport for you 29 kids. I imagine you can't do that.
No, you can't do that. So that was one thing we went through last night. So the presentation last night was really broken down to kind of the history of Whittier. So some people don't even know what Whittier is about or how it was formed. So we talked about that agreement, and it speaks to the agreement what the capital formula is, what the operational budget formula is, which is by student. Capital formula is by the size of your school district. We talked about how do you make amendments to the plan. There's never been one made amendment to this plan from 1967, which is crazy. It's just, and that just tells you they've never never gone to do a project like this before in 50 years, which is why their building's falling apart. So it's never come up, and then all of a sudden it happens, and oh my goodness,
that is fascinating.
This school that we never paid money to build, now we're going to get charged with a $60 million bill. It's tough to swallow. So we went through all that last night, and then we got into the plan, and then we got into how much work is needed in Whittier. We totally recognize that something needs to be done there, whether it be a new building or a renovation. And then we got into the financials, which I thought was great. I had my finance director, Ethan Manning, from the city of Newburyport, go through a presentation of just talking about the facts, right, the numbers involved here. And then what we did after that is kind of look at explanation of what a debt exclusion is and what a tax override is, which a lot of people don't know about either. So it was really trying to be informational around the numbers. And then we kind of looked at it as a test case, like what happened, what would this have looked like in Newburyport this year if this happened this year? And we did that. So I'm hoping that's something that the cities and towns will replicate, because I did send the presentation out to all 11 cities and towns afterwards. And like I said, ours is already up on the website. I hope the others do the same. But like I said, I think a lot of good information. I mean, I've got an incredible response from people. So, I mean, I'm glad we had it. It was a very difficult night. Emotions are high. I totally get it. If I had a child going to Whittier, even though those kids will never get to see the school regardless, and you value that vocational education that they're getting, I would be very passionate for it as well. And that's why to me, it's not need. I know something needs to happen at Whittier. I don't agree with how the state's funding it, and I don't agree that we couldn't get money from the federal government. But that doesn't change the fact that you're asking for a bill that we just can't pay. This is a terrible analogy, but this is what I've been using and people have been getting it. But if you've got a clunker car that you've been kind of band-aiding for years, and it gets you where you want to go, but you could do better. And now it gets to the point the useful life is just about over. And then the state says, well, I'm going to give you money to get a new car, but you've got to buy a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I can't afford a Lamborghini, so I'm glad you're giving me some money to go towards my new car, but I can't do that. That's what I feel like this is like. They've designed a school that is just, no one was there saying hey, let's start from what we need for a level funded school, right? Let's try to do what we're doing, because they're not building a bigger school. It's the same enrollment, but there's a band room and a chorus room, which is I'm completely supportive, but they don't currently have that in their school, right? Yeah. They're building 3 baseball diamonds. I would love to build 3 baseball diamonds for my school. You know what I mean? So there was just, I don't know how much thought there was in actually trying to keep costs down, even though they said, we're not increasing enrollment. And the enrollment process is interesting too, because and we have kids in Newburyport that apply and don't get in. Yeah. So, right? So, I mean, there's a selection process. So it's really kind of like a magnet school. It's not like everybody gets to go. So there's an approval process, and they get to pick and choose the kids that attend. So that's another part of all this is and that's why Newburyport is trying to do some things to meet those kids that maybe aren't getting into Whittier, but get into high school. We're trying to come up with our own vocational pathways. We're partnering with the Peterson School out of Woburn, which is a trade school. So when you get to that junior year and you'd like to kind of look at that vocational track and you didn't get to go to Whittier, we're trying to provide those opportunities in Newburyport.
You can see, folks, why I opened with that question right off the bat here to start the new year. There is a lot to it.
So I have been living and not sleeping this for almost 6 months. I mean, a good 5 months. Yeah. So it's been tough, and I've learned so much, and that's why once I get started talking, I apologize. I just go on and on and on because I have learned so much about it, and it's still frustrating. I will leave here and go somewhere, and I'll run into somebody who doesn't know about this. And that's so disheartening because it's on our website and it's been in the paper, and the Globe has an article today, and I've been on the radio, and I'm doing Mayor's Corners, and there's still probably 60% of the public that really have no idea that this is happening, which is why we wanted to do that information session last night.
All right. Newburyport Mayor Sharon Reardon in the house. So let's bounce around. I want to hit on some other quick topics here. First show of the new year. It's kind of nice to hit on a few things here. We got a snowstorm in the books. How'd it go?
It went good. Yeah, I was really happy. DPS did a really great job. Tough storm, and then to back it up with what's happened the last 2 days with the rain and the temperatures changing so quickly. Yeah. We had a really high tide today. We had to shut down Plum Island Turnpike for traffic. Water completely over.
So many roads washed out.
Newbury center of Plum Island completely washed. Yep. I heard Hampton Beach was completely drenched.
I go to work in Medford in the morning.
And it was bad.
I couldn't find a road to get me to work.
And I heard right now, so the high tide I think is right around now. It was supposed to be even higher than the one this morning. So, obviously we had dumped all that sand, the beach replenishment project with the Army Corps last year. And I was getting pictures this morning that the water was already over it. So that's 400 feet of sand that the water is just going over. So that's really concerning. We got to keep a close eye on that. But as far as the storm went, we had some poles that went down. People lost power for a little bit, but I thought the DPS did a great job. We only had to tow 4 cars, which sounds like 4 too many, but at the same time, there's been storms that, not since I've taken office, but I've heard that's been 60 plus tows that have to happen. So I think we did a good job getting the information out about the storm, and again, I think everyone stayed off the roads and let the DPS work.
I'll tell you a funny story. One of my, you may even know him. He's a friend of this show and a musician in town, Russell Six. You know that name?
Oh yeah.
You know Russell? He was away and kind of didn't know, somehow, apparently not following the social media enough, but that there was a storm coming and had to hustle back after he saw the Newburyport. So he goes, I am on the street and I'm out of town. So he had to hustle back. He was very appreciative that he was not towed. He got back in time, apparently.
Well, it's funny. Someone reached out to me and they had a picture of someone's car, and they were like, just so you know, this car's been here. It hasn't moved since it was like before Christmas or something.
Oh boy!
I was like, well, that's probably going to get towed, and it did end up getting towed. But
yeah, interesting.
It's tough. Newburyport, like most North Shore communities, there's some parts in some streets that you just have to get off the road somehow, right?
Yeah.
And we've got some parts of our South End that some places don't have driveways, right? So then they've got to make that plan about where am I going to put my car? You try to get into the municipal lots, but those are tough to get into. So it's really difficult. And then if you don't, it's just so difficult for the plows to maneuver around cars that were left. So
no doubt.
It's unfortunate they have to do that. I like the way we do it. We try to get the information out early, turn the blue lights on. For this storm, it was after 10 o'clock that we said we were going to start ticketing and towing. But it was a Saturday night, too, and I knew the storm wasn't going to start till around then. I was like, hey, look, go downtown, enjoy a nice night out, and visit the shops and restaurants, and we'll hit downtown last. But, know, get home and get off the road, and then stay off the road so we can finish.
It was good messaging on social media. I saw plenty of alerts on there.
Yeah,
so
no, that's half the
team
battle.
was doing good.
Yep, thanks.
I liked the 60-degree weather that came after that, to be honest with you.
Unbelievable.
That was the way to go. Whenever I think of those snow parking stories, I lived in Brighton after college for a few years, and a very narrow street. There's so many of those streets. Kind of reminds me of some of these Newburyport streets, but, Brighton, just part of Boston. And I remember one day, somebody, my street was a hill, and the plow truck could not get up because somebody was on the street. And everybody on the street is like, plow the street. We got, people got, it's a bad hill. People get places to go. And so they call in the tow truck comes, gets the car out of there, the plow. As they're about to tow the car, the owner of the car comes
up. Of course.
And we're all kind of watching from the window. And no, it's already done. The thing's on the tow. We're towing the car. And the guy, you can't tow the car. I'm here. And the guy goes, do you think we want to tow your car? All we've wanted to do for the last 90 minutes is plow this street. We got people on the street yelling at us. It'll give me a real good insight into their job, do you think they want to tow your car? No, they just want to clean the streets.
And those streets too, there's so much little room for error, right?
Sure,
you talk about damaging property and cars and so again, half the battle is just getting the communication out there to people. And
no doubt.
Yep.
New Year went well. Happy New Year.
Yeah, it was great. How about you?
Yeah. What did I do? Went out in Salem, actually.
We were pretty low key. Like I said, I've been living and dreaming and sleeping and not sleeping this Whittier thing. So, but it was nice to have a few days. I had some family in town, which was great. And I'm excited for the new year. We've got a couple new members on the city council. We've got a couple new school committee members. So I think we got really good groups of people with a lot of great expertise on both. And so I think it could be a really exciting year. Unfortunately, I think this Whittier thing's kind of a dark cloud hanging over us until this vote happens on the 23rd. But we got a lot of good things that we want to do this year.
Any personal New Year's resolutions?
Well, it's a good question. So my thing this year, so it's funny. My mother-in-law is great. I love her. Yeah. We do this thing every day. We kind of pick a word for the year, and that's your word. So I remember when I first got elected, my word was leadership. This is going to be my year, right? I'm taking the reins of this really important job and the city I love and leadership. So last year was year 2, right? So my year was resiliency. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of things getting thrown at me, but I'm going to survive it. This year, my word I picked was self-care.
Oh, nice.
Because I think I'm doing a pretty terrible job taking care of myself.
It's the Whittier thing, isn't it?
Well, I think
bit.
this has beat me down to the point where I'm starting to notice it. So as much as I love the job and I'm giving 110%, I think this year I think I need to do a little bit better job taking care of myself, and so hopefully we can do that.
We can appreciate that one. Well, by the way, I meant to ask the follow-up, but Sean Spicer, is that the White House Sean Spicer that's in it?
No.
Different. Okay, unique name. It
is the same name. I wonder if I'm saying the name wrong. It is Spicer.
Yeah. Well, he's local. He was a Massachusetts.
He was,
too. Or at least Rhode Island. He was New England. can't quite remember. But anyway, my New Year's, I actually hang out with a Newburyport guy. I know he's friends with you too, Alex Anthony.
Alex.
He's now living in Salem. I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that. Yeah. So that's a fun town to be in.
He is getting used to a new music scene down there. He's playing here just as much, but just kind of he's just changed living places. And we went out with him in Salem, and he played, and we had a fun night. So
that's good.
That was our New Year's.
Good
It was
guy.
a good time. One thing that I heard that you were on the news, so was a bunch of other people here in Newburyport, but we had some unfortunate, I think it classified as a hate crime, but some stuff, mailboxes and all that stuff. What happened there?
Yeah, that was the first time I ever got something. So it was a postcard that came in the mail that was pretty vulgar, a lot of hate language, directed towards our Jewish community. And I received something in the mail, and the city councilors received something in the mail. And the city councilors have got something in their mailbox before at City Hall, but this was the first time, which was unusual, that it came to our home addresses. It looked like it came from California from the tracking of it, which is weird. So it must have been a national thing, even though I haven't heard from anybody that could tell me, what other communities impacted by it. But
I have heard, I know, because I actually live in Danvers, and I don't know if it was the California one, but another one from
it's something like that.
Yeah,
so
similar deal.
Yeah, just with things going on around the world, I mean, unfortunately, these things ramp up and these types of things. I mean, we've been trying to be so supportive of our Jewish community here in Newburyport. Rabbi Alex Matthews is the leader, and it was just, honestly, it was just more sad than anything else. I thought it was just really disgusting and sad. But I mean, I have 3 kids at home. I mean, luckily they didn't see it, but they certainly could have.
Yeah.
And I just don't think there's any place for that. I mean, I think places like Newburyport get targeted because we are such a welcoming community. We have such a rich history here. So, I mean, I think some people who are intolerant look at us as either the enemy or someone to attack about. So, it was just really sad. And like I said, I think we're lucky here in Newburyport that we do have systems in place to deal with these types of things. Like we immediately worked with the district attorney's office, Paul Tucker, and then we worked with the Anti-Defamation League. And then we have our own human rights committee here in Newburyport that we work with the HRC on these types of things. So it's nice we have those supports in place for people, but obviously we never like to see those types of things happen.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, happening, of course, all across the country and all across the world really right now is that conflict continues on. We talked about New Year's resolutions already. I did want to mention that the other night to start off the new year, I called the basketball game, which I know I joked about earlier. You've been doing a great job this year. We really appreciate your work as the play-by-play work. Your dad's up there with you. I have a ball when I hear you guys together.
So again, talk about self-care and whatnot, but it's such a great break from your job to be able to do that. And this was something I always wanted to grow up. I actually went to college originally, and I thought I would go into communications and do radio or TV or something.
Where'd you go
like
to
that. Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I started getting into that. And then,
sorry about that national championship. That must have been hard to watch.
Very tough. So my career path didn't go that way, but it's something I was always interested in. So the fact that I get to come back now and play, and then have my dad sit next to me do it, who obviously most know was a longtime basketball coach in Newburyport, 30 plus years, a girls head varsity coach, and so we're doing boys and girls games, and it's great because I get to know the kids too now at the high school and do it, and it's something we love basketball. It was such a big part of our lives growing up for both of us, and so to be able to have that. Have that opportunity to do that. It's just so much fun. And I grew up listening to Richie Eaton, who just retired. It was a legend. And so I've just been around it my whole life. So it's just such a great relief or just a vacation from the job for a split second. I can get and just enjoy a basketball game and talk about it with my dad.
Get to sit with Dad for an hour and a half. Not too bad, right?
Not too bad. We'll take it
at all. He's great too. I haven't seen him in a while, but he did a great job with us. I remember one of our producers had actually. She's not here anymore, so I don't mind saying it. But I tried to mix it up a little bit and had moved this to the corner for some reason.
Yeah,
I remember your dad was, I can't see the game as well this way. I prefer to be at midcourt. I thought, I do too. I'm with you. It won't happen again. I promise.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah, Newburyport boys, they looked pretty damn good the other night.
They look good. Yeah, they both had boys and girls had both convincing wins last night. So yeah, they look good.
I haven't done a girls game yet. They're strong as well.
Well, so they look good last night. I think the girls, it's just they had a big 3 seniors that graduated last year. So I think they've got some young kids that they're still getting acclimated, but I just from the score, it looks like they had a great game last night. So I think that's a team that hopefully will continue to get better and hopefully be ready for the tournament.
And maybe put it on your calendars. I know before we did this show, Sarah Hayden, the boss, jumped in and threw the idea of possibly you and I possibly teaming up for a wrestling broadcast.
I think it's a great idea. I wouldn't have guessed it, and I don't have the details in front of me.
I don't know anything either. What is it?
I think so. So this is how it came out. So I guess wrestling used to happen at the city hall a million years ago, right? So I don't know. So how that happened is Sean McGillicuddy is the head coach of Triton Wrestling.
Right.
Pawtucket Wrestling is so Newburyport, we don't have a wrestling team.
Okay.
So the kids that want to do wrestling in Newburyport wrestle with Pawtucket.
Okay.
I believe. I think that's right. And so anyways, the head coach of Triton, Sean, reached out, and I'm a friend of his. We graduated. He graduated in 93, Triton. I graduated class of 93 for Newburyport. So I've known him forever. But he reached out to my office and just said, hey, we got this idea, like it'd be really cool to stage a wrestling match in City Hall for this kind of clash of the titans, like this river rivalry between these two schools. And so I was like, sure, why not? I mean, I'm not against it. As long as it's not disrupting work hours and there's not anything going on, I guess, so let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's where I came from. So
okay.
I mean, if I don't know a whole lot about wrestling. Like I said, I'll probably default to more entertaining wrrestling from the WWE type of things. But I think it's great. I think it's a great sport. It's too bad it never really caught on here in Newburyport. I think it'd be great to have kids to have other options. If you don't play hockey, you don't play basketball, and you don't want to do track, it would be nice to have an option like wrestling. So I'm glad we were in that co-op situation now with Pawtucket. But it sounds like it could be really fun.
It could be fun to listen to us, two guys that really don't know much about wrestling.
Well, I mean, I think you and I could fake just about anything.
We'll try to be entertaining.
We did a pretty rough football game once.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, actually, that funny story that night was, I think it was a 6:30 game, and I think somebody here told me it was 7.
Oh, right. So you were hustling.
I remember I'm looking up at you, and you're going. I was planning on talking to some of the coaches, and then I'm looking, and I'm like, it doesn't really look like we're in like hour away warm-ups here. It looks like we're closer to game time. And then I see the referees jog on the field for like getting ready for a coin toss. And I go, what time is this game? And I thought you were just being you don't mind coming up at the last minute. I sprinted up. I go, no, I thought I had 35 minutes.
Well, you're a pro. I thought you were just
that's what you said.
Walking in and like ready to go.
No,
of course I'm like looking at trying to figure out stats. I love football, but it's not like I don't have the expertise in football.
I would have preferred to have known the quarterback's name before I had to. Who's quarterbacking? Oh, that was funny. Hey,
that was a lot of fun.
Behind the scenes stuff. It was a very fun night. Always enjoy hanging out with you, Mayor. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for all that stuff. Good luck with the Whittier deal. I know it's on your mind and a lot going on with that, but it'll all work
It'll
itself
all work out. Yep. No, thanks, Drew, for having me as always. And just a reminder of everyone out there, the vote's coming up January 23rd, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. in your 11 cities and towns, and it's the regular polling place for everybody. So, hey, either way, just do your homework, get out and vote, right?
There you go. He doesn't even need a calendar. He knows the date and time, top of the head. There you go. Maeve Power producing the show. Thank you, Maya Gaspin, Ryan Rothberg on hand, Sarah Hayden, the boss. Lee Cusack is doing, I think, the hockey game tonight with Tom Goodwin on camera. They've been very busy here. This is like a busy stretch, the middle of January here. This is like a very, very busy time for the station. We're covering the public forums, the games, and the regular meetings and stuff. So it's a small but mighty team here doing a lot of hard work. Want to make sure I shout them out. Thank you all very much, making my life easy. Live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Thank you, Mayor Sean Reardon. Appreciate the time. We'll see you next time, folks.